Hello, hello. Welcome to the second installment of me DIYing the outfits for East2West Monster by Silgi and Irene. Here you'll see me modify two blazers as well as work on the shirts or tops that they wear. And just a reminder, same thing from the first video, I'm not a professional, this is not a tutorial, and I have bad posture. I know. So hope you enjoy it anyways. Let's get started.
Mo basically took one of our blazers. Look at us. Rather than thrifting, we paid Simon's
I did not.
$60.
I did not approve of this.
We did. One night. It's always at night that we make some
No, we were like, okay,
stupid
if you
decisions.
Do it, I'll do it. And we were both like, okay, fine, whatever.
So there was that.
That's just the right kind of blazer.
So she just put a safety pin to mark where to stop.
Safety pin.
And then she's going along the seams.
Do you watch episode 11?
Yeah, I
Yes.
So I initially wasn't going to do the DIYs on the blazers for the girls because it was $70, and I don't like working on things that expensive just because I don't really know what I'm doing, so I don't want to mess anything up and waste their money. But in the end, I decided to do it because the girls were going to do it on their own, and I felt like I was probably going to do a cleaner job than them. So I decided to go ahead and do it. Like Saru had mentioned, I made marks on the sleeves and I began to seam rip them open. Once I did one side, I let Saru try it on just to get an idea. And then Sarah was testing it here and she decided that we wanted to go a little bit higher. So we made new marks to indicate where I needed to stop. Also, this clip is really funny. I don't know what this angle is, but it's almost like a first-person shooter angle. And it's so weird, but it's so funny. I don't even know what I was trying to film. Anyways. Back into more seam ripping. And then this bad boy came home with me. And here I'm about to cut the blazer in half, and then I get scared for a bit and I just like remeasure, make sure everything's straight, get distracted by some B2B concert, and then I just go for it. Making sure everything is even, cutting slowly. And then I try it on to make sure that it's a good length. The lapels on Sylvie's blazers stick out a bit beyond the actual body of the blazer, so I'm just making marks here on how far up I need to crop the blazer and where I need to sew down the tips of the lapels. And here's a clip of me poking myself with the needle. Ouch. And then finally sewing the hem. I'm just making a straight stitch across the whole bottom of the blazer. And I'm also cleaning up the sleeves a bit. I also sewed down the tips of the lapels so that they don't open up while she's dancing. Yes, the lapels are uneven, but I actually fixed that later. And here I'm imitating what Saru did when I was fitting it on her. And it's good. For the bodysuit, we found a fairly cheap bodysuit for about $10 at Urban Planet, and we just decided to modify that because I learned that mesh is a pain to work with. I removed some of the mesh panels from the bodysuit so that we would have a cutout section around the waist. And then we used some really pretty glitter ribbon that I found on Amazon and glued it down with my hot glue gun. I only did the front because if I did the back too, Saru wouldn't be able to get into it because there would be no more stretch. And here are the final pieces. And it's a look. We love a thong bodysuit over lounge pants. Honestly, these are just clips that I take so I can send the girls so that they kind of know, are updated what the DIYs are looking like. I'll put some actual clips of the final product at the end. So now we're going to do the Irene outfit that you see in the cover, the first outfit she's wearing with the blazer as well. Same thing, Anne was going to do the modifications by herself, but I decided to take it upon myself with Saru and Anne's full consent of it's not my fault if something goes wrong. I usually try to recycle old clothing or find inexpensive pieces to modify, so working on a nice blazer was kind of concerning, but I actually think it turned out pretty nice. #humble. So with the blazer coming home with me, this is how I made it into Irene's blazer. The tape marks that you see, sorry, I'm like really not in frame. Wow, not frame at all. So the tape marks that you see are actually marks that I made to indicate where I needed to cut the blazer. I just used tape because it was easy to tape onto Anne while I was measuring it the first time. I also removed the inside layer just because I wanted less fabric to work with. It's just easier to sew. And then I'm pinning down where I want to make my hem. I think I put like 30,000 pins just because I was scared that I would miss a spot or something. I'm just sewing the hem where I had pinned, removing the pins as I go, doing the front, back, and under the armpits, and the whole shebang. I also taken the sleeves a bit because they were a little loose. So I just made them a little tighter. And I'm just cutting off any excess fabric. For accessories, she has ribbons on both sides. We did 4 black and 2 pink on the right side and 6 black ribbons on the left side. I just used safety pins to pin them on. I didn't film it, but I also safety pinned the shoulder pads that we borrowed from Christine's BTS costume from the Korea competition. And I'm hand sewing random gold buttons that we found on Amazon. You'll notice that I'm in like semi-formal wear all of a sudden. In the middle of making these red velvet DIYs, I suddenly had an urge to sew a shirt for a wedding I was attending the next day, so that's why I'm dressed like that. So the next part of the outfit is the bodysuit thing, corset thing. I don't know, I didn't make it either, so I'm just gonna call it a top. I started off with the bow because it was the least scary part and easiest, so I wanted to get that out of the way. I used some cheap glitter paper that I had at home from the dollar store and ribbon. It's pretty simple. I just made 2 loops and stuck them on top of each other after attaching the gold paper across the center of the ribbon. I added some tails and voila! That's what the bow looks like. Spoiler alert, I do make the bow a little smaller because we decided it was too big. Actually, Anne said it was a little too big, so we fixed it. The next part is the actual shirt. I had asked Anne to bring me a strapless bandeau, and we had some leftover mesh from Jenny's Dun Dun outfit, and I had the idea of making a giant tube with the mesh and the bandeau bra. So here I'm just pinning where I'm going to sew the tube. This is the point where I learned that sewing mesh is not as easy as it seems. And a couple days after I filmed this, my sister tells me there's a different setting that I can change on the sewing machine to make it easier. But we got it to work, thankfully, and I got my giant mesh tube and attached it to my bandeau bra. For the peplum skirt, I used craft foam. This is just a really big sheet that I bought at Michael's about a year ago, and I'm cutting it into 1/2-inch strips so that I can build the cage. I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I didn't really know how to execute it. In the end, I decided to use magnets. I chose this route of magnets because I knew I wanted something that would be detachable. Since Anne uses public transportation, it would be best if she could just put it on and take it off easily without having to remove the entire top. So here's just clips of me rummaging through my brain on how the best way to shape it would be. I'm also doing a lot of hot glue gun directly on myself, but just a warning, don't do that because you can and you will burn yourself if you're not careful. So at this point, I'm just winging most of it. Just cutting out pieces, kind of trying to make a good structure. And using more magnets. And more glue, more hot glue. And here we have the skirt. Just fixing some parts in the back. But yeah, that's the skirt. Peplum, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And that's how you can take it off. I ended up gluing some pretty glitter ribbon onto the peplum, but then I find out that Irene's doesn't actually have the glitter on hers, but that's okay, it's pretty anyway, even though you don't see it in the cover. And the final clip is me shrinking the bow and adding safety pins so that it's clippable onto the shirt. And this is the final look of the shirt and also how the skirt clips on. So yeah, it's literally just magnets and it's quite sturdy. And yeah, do some dance moves to make sure that it stays. And it does. Amazing. And here's the final result on the girls. Make sure to check out the full cover on East2West YouTube channel and show the girls some love because they worked super hard. Also, thanks for watching this video and I hope you enjoyed.